Yo guys, this is Jared, aka the Saint of Sins on Xbox Live, bringing you an NBA Jam On Fire Edition online arena ranked matchup. I'll be rolling with Patrick Ewing and Carmelo Anthony's New York Knicks as I face off against Kevin Garnett and Larry Bird's Boston Celtics. For those of you rocking with me since February, this might be a sight for sore eyes, while you newer subs might be wondering, the fuck is this bullshit? To be fair, this is one of my favorite arcade games, but I haven't played it since about February, mostly because I've distracted myself with so many different games that I kind of forgot all about it. And sadly, that's still the case, as this footage is from sometime back last December. I'd have brought this game a lot sooner, but I've been kind of hesitant to dig back into this game and this library of footage because this all led into a pretty sensitive time period of my life, which I may get into a little later into this commentary. For now, the big reason I wanted to bring this gameplay, aside from how exciting it was, is to serve as a buffer video. I'm thinking about bringing a certain Blacktop video that might just end whatever momentum I'm rolling with, thanks in large part to GameFace Studios, Wise & Now, and iPod King Carter. Oh, you know it's gonna be a rant. The reason I'm hesitant to do it is because I'm not sure the message would actually translate well. Some people might think I'm just some jerk who doesn't appreciate the attention I'm receiving through my channel and videos, but I'm a humble enough guy to admit that it's overwhelming and actually kind of cool. But there are just some things that certain people, who claim to be subs, are doing that has been rubbing me the wrong way for a couple of days now. So much so that I want nothing to do with these people. But let's not dwell on that, as this gameplay has nothing to do with that topic. Instead, this gameplay brings up an uglier topic, personally, as this was probably the last game I played prior to seeing my former therapist, which kind of rattled me in a way that led to a really weird and odd finish to the year. For those of you newer subs, let me take this time to kind of explain a few things. Growing up, I was a huge fan of NBA Jam. I remember really going hard on it for the SNES, so much so that whenever friends would drop by, we'd have to get in a game or two. It always resulted in a lot of laughs and some really tightly contested games. So yeah, this franchise has a bit of a special place in my heart. It was just flat out fucking awesome. It kind of grew into one of those forgotten gems over the years. As my taste evolved and my care for basketball faded, I'd almost forgotten the joy this game can produce. That is, until you add in the online factor. I swear, the internet almost seems to ruin something one way or the other. Part of me fears there's Rule 34 of this matchup lurking somewhere in the dark crevices of the inner tubes. Don't get me wrong, this game doesn't really have a lot of exploits to it that can prevent one from sitting down and enjoying themselves, but the competitive nature of online really leads one to wonder just what the purpose of video games are these days. When I first started playing this game, I thought the presence of a guest account in Online Arena would pretty much sink me. After all, I've been trained to believe that your teammate AI in practically every game to come out with multiplayer features was dumber than most Republican voters who feverishly masturbate to Rush Limbaugh's voice. Oddly enough, by this gameplay, I had grown a tolerance for the guests, because I learned how to control my teammate AI moderately well enough to eliminate that extra human player from the equation in the part of the game where it matters most, the transition. Here, the guest player has already shown me he's inconsistent with his shot, so I'm not too worried about him. The main account, however, I have yet to really get a feel for, as he hasn't done a whole lot. So to me, this is my game to lose. Either I start getting the guest in check and prevent him from getting any more 3 balls off, or I let them start to catch and make the adjustments that would begin to close the gap by stripping me during the transition. Okay, I know, some of you may have no clue what I mean when I say the transition. Further elaboration is required. For me, the big part of the game is won and lost in the transition, the part of the game where defense either steps up big or offense steamrolls you. For NBA Jam, the transition is any time after the inbound pass until spot up for the shot. That middle ground where you're trying to strip your opponent of the ball before they can march down and get their chance to shoot. So right now, I'm sporting a pretty comfortable lead, though it's too narrow a margin for my taste, thanks in part because I left them with some empty possessions. I haven't been winning a big enough margin in the transition. I've just gotten lucky with my opponent missing some open looks beyond the arc. That's why I know this is my game to lose, because I've been fortunate enough that I haven't had to set up to take a lot of looks for the 3-ball, because the guest account has been missing a wide margin of his shots. But of course, they're starting to close the gap, as my focus has been too specifically targeted on the guest account, leaving the only T-Diz to square up and make a lot of dunks. He's the guy that's been chipping away at my lead, and instead of balancing off to really prevent both of them from getting down the court, I'm too focused on trying to press on the inbound. That's not usually my game, but it's what worked at the start. I should be looking to press more at half court and just at their 3-point arc. That's usually where I win the transition, because I give myself time to see their movements, gauge their tendencies, and place up a stopping point. When I fail this, I'm giving too much ground and not winning the transition. A lot of my opponents tend to press on the inbound. Some have won battles there, but more often than not, I can slip beyond them and really press down court almost uncontested. And that's why I feel my game is stronger than most. I give up the ground in front of me rather than the ground behind me. It's just like in football. You don't want anyone beating you to get behind you. You want to keep them in front of you and win your battles there. The short yardage is something you can combat and easily take away if you make your reads and play your defense right. But there's no real defense you can successfully win games with if your objective is to press so much that you're allowing your opponent to beat you from the backside. Now, I've said a lot of things that I hope some of you caught. If not, well, I'm sure you'll go back and listen to it more carefully. I don't know how many of you optimistic fucks of the world say half of the things you do with a straight face. So yeah, they're starting to chip away at my lead now, with the guest account actually starting to convert more of his shots, which means eventually I'm gonna have to start taking better and smarter attempts beyond the arc than the one you saw earlier with Ewing. I think I was trying too hard to showboat on that one. Some of you may just be wondering about the therapist meeting and how I ended last year off, because so far all I've managed to do is talk specifically about the game, my strategy, and some of the lingo I use. Well, I did bring it up for a reason. One of the main reasons I've kind of slid away from this game was because it's kind of caught some baggage. One of my friends, big guy, was on a party chat with me before and after the appointment and confessed to me many weeks after this game that perhaps it's best I lay off of the online multiplayer games for a while. The reason? Well, I kind of lost my shit. Not in that humorous, oh, come on! Nerd rage that a lot of people seem to have fun posting up on YouTube now. More like the angry German kid who beat the shit out of his own keyboard. Not for this game, mind you. I was somewhat fine for this game, but I had a lot stewing in my own head. I'm kind of a head case like that, trapping and internalizing everything. Never wanting to vocalize my real issues because I'm embarrassed to lay this burden upon other people. For this game, I was far more level-headed than I probably came off in the chat. Throughout, I've kind of played around on offense with show-off dribble moves and a trick shot here and there. Like I said a few times now, I knew this was my game to lose, and so far I've been unbeatable in this game. So I kind of wanted to hang on to that claim given I'm not very good at competitive gaming. The reason I was doing it was because the previous week at my appointment, some things were said to get me rethinking one of my friendships. Some very personal things that I didn't want to have to admit to, not just in public to another human being, but to myself as well. The appointment I went to after this game wrapped up, well, shook even more loose fruit from the branches and kind of left me blinded. I'll talk more about that when I upload the next NBA Jam Online Arena gameplay, because that one really set me off and it was obvious how blinded by my own thoughts and subsequent rage I was. Needless to say, one of the suggestions my therapist had given me on a few occasions was that I contemplate being locked up and placed under evaluation at a mental hospital. Yes, I'm not shitting you when I say I'm batshit fucking insane. Keep note of that when you send in those friend requests. Now, I know some of you will ask why I feel the need to open up and express this, or why bother with such old footage. Firstly, I'm not one to bend the trends. I feel as though the quote YouTube standards unquote is a bunch of nonsense. I feel if a gameplay has a compelling narrative or is interesting to look at, it's worth working with. Where channels ultimately fail or strive is through the personality and commentary. That's a big enough topic for another video, so I'll spare you of another lengthy discussion of it for now. Secondly, I feel this channel and the content I provide through it is an extension of myself. That this is my medium of choice to not only express myself, but to vent as well. I tend to bottle up a lot of things, and sometimes have no place to let it all out. This is more constructive a medium than randomly punching at the wall. Plus, it's a lot funnier in retrospect. Besides, it gives me a break from just talking about Blacktop or basketball in general, and allows me an opportunity to try and burn through some of this older gameplay. Now, if I could only figure out a way to execute my idea for the Batman Arkham City footage I collected from last year. And the Assassin's Creed Revelation story mode gameplay I have. Oh well, I'm sure that won't turn into a broken promise like my A Nightmarish View project from like 5 years ago. Man, I just can't execute any of the ideas I'm so quick to verbally publish to people. I suck at this. And I just remember how much I sucked during this game. For those of you still looking at the pretty colors on your screen, Did anyone take notice of where my 10-point lead vanished? Once my opponent brought out Ray Allen, I now have to worry about 2 perimeter shooters, and I'm still losing the game on the transition. A lot of empty trips thanks to Sir Ewing of Bricks has now netted me a closer game than I ever wanted a part of. What's more, I'm pressing too much and not making the right switch offs to keep a man in front of any open shooters. So within 1 quarter, I go from being up 10 to now having to scratch and claw my way to the finish marker with a W. In hindsight, I probably should have switched Ewing out for a better swingman that has more speed and better steal attempt rather than just relying upon strength to knock everyone on their asses. Nah, I needed someone with a good block rating on the court to help stop these shots. I just can't shake this feeling like this game is slipping away from me because of my luck. And that's another issue I have with myself. I, like most of my family, feel like I'm cursed. I try not to be superstitious, but it's hard when you notice how shit piles up against you. I mean, look back at that play earlier where I forced them down to nothing on the shot clock and Bird chucked up a shot that Allen picked up for a rebound and a quick 3-point tying bucket. What else was I supposed to do there? Ewing didn't rotate to try and get the rebound, and I was too slow to move Carmelo into the right position to possibly pull it down myself. And with a minute and some change, I know full well I have to prevent the 3-ball. It's the only shot they're going to go for now, and it's the only one that can quickly close the gap while giving them the best chance at victory. I certainly didn't want that, so I crashed. I panic pressed them as much as possible. This only further added to my issues that put me in this predicament in the first place. Not only that, I tried to hold on to the ball as long as possible by still going for show-off dribbles. Or showboat dribbles. I forget what they're actually called in the game. The reason? Well, they didn't know what to do with them earlier in the game, so I figured they wouldn't know how to press me and strip me of the ball in mid-animation. Boy, was I fucking wrong. A 2-point lead is all I have to protect now after Ewing gets a steal and then commits a turnover on a pass out to Melo. Again, my attempt to milk the clock of some time comes back to haunt me as Allen buries the 3 to give the Celtics a lead. Now I'm in need of a 3-pointer myself just to go back up to. Getting that would make me feel a whole lot more comfortable about my pressing. It certainly feels like I'm trying to find a way to lose this one, and with 12 seconds left on the clock and my pressing the issue, they get one last look that could win them the game, but Bird breaks up the game winner, allowing me to crawl out of here with the W. Yeah, I'm never going to do that again.